Transfers can often be hyped up beyond all belief. Let's take a look at each Premier League club's most hyped transfer, the one which got the fans the most excited. Arsenal Mesut Ozil. The summer of 2013 had been a frustrating one for Arsenal fans, when is it ever not? After finishing just the 16 points behind the champions the previous seasons, with their former player having picked up the golden boot, they hit the transfer market with a vengeance, picking up Matthew Fellaini and Yaya Sanogo, a lad who had to be talked out of becoming a postman, on free transfers. So when Arsene Wenger suddenly went out and forked out £42 million on Mesut Ozil, it was a bit like when Josh King hit 16 goals last season after consistently churning out bagfuls of nothing throughout his career. Nobody was expecting the club to land arguably Madrid's second best player, and the hype sent the fans into meltdown as they could finally dream about a first league title since 2004. 5 years on and he's about to leave for nothing, with the club lining up glamour ties against Östersunds FK in the Europa League. Good job lads. Bournemouth, Jack Wilshere. A man whose career was arguably stifled by the arrival of Ozil, but also by the fact that his hamstrings were as sturdy as jammy donuts. Jack Wilshere was once touted as a future great after shining against Barcelona 6 years ago, so I don't think he quite envisaged playing in front of 10,000 fans every second week at the age of 25. Bournemouth fans must have been fairly ecstatic with his loan arrival last season. Brighton, Vicente. They might be in the Premier League now, but 7 years ago they were nowhere near. For God's sake, they'd just been promoted from League 1. But Gus Poyet worked his contacts and managed to convince Vicente to join. Yeah, the one with nearly 40 caps for Spain, over 300 appearances for Valencia, and 2 league titles, a UEFA Cup, Copa del Rey and a Super Cup. For God's sake, his trophy cabinet was bigger than Brighton's, and he was still only 30. Burnley, Stephen Defour. Back in 2009, standardly aged midfielder Stephen Defour received a letter from Sir Alex Ferguson explaining to him why he wouldn't be signing him, mainly because he just busted his foot. 7 years later, Defour finally did make it to England with Burnley, and hey, he ended up scoring at Old Trafford after all, just not for the team who he probably thought. Chelsea, Andrei Shevchenko. There have been a few signings that have got Chelsea fans giddy in recent years. Sit down Ross, we clearly don't mean you. But Andrei Shevchenko is probably the pick of the lot. Forget the fact that he came up second best in the battle of wits against Jerzy Dudek. The man was one of the greatest hitmen in Europe at AC Milan, but £30 million for a 30-year-old with no experience of English football was a risk, and by God did it backfire. He had 2 seasons and never managed more than 5 league goals in either. Crystal Palace, Christian Benteke. If Christian Benteke was a toy or a machine, you take him back to the store and get him fixed. I don't know what's wrong with him this season, but 1 goal by January? Is this what you pay 30 million for, is it? For Benteke, it seemed like a monumental step backwards after spending about 18 months pining for bigger things at Aston Villa, to suddenly end up in another relegation dogfight with Crystal Palace after leaving Liverpool for £32 million in August 2016. I'm sure Palace fans were excited though, he was a damn upgrade in Conor Wickham. Everton, Romelu Lukaku. Another Belgian, a better Belgian. It seems that Everton have been crying out for a centre forward since the days of a teenage Wayne Rooney. Sorry Andy Johnson, but just no. So when the Toffees finally forked out £28 million for the 21-year-old Chelsea sensation in July 2014, Everton fans were delighted, and rightly so. Huddersfield, Tom Ince. We'll go with Tom Ince here, often linked to Liverpool and seemingly came close to a move to Inter Milan. I can only assume it was because of his dad. I think it shows how far the Milan clubs have fallen that he actually decided to say no. I'd rather be a bench warmer with Hull City instead. A star for Derby County in the Championship though, the 25-year-old was a fairly exciting signing for Huddersfield last summer. Leicester City, Kelechi Iheanacho. Oh good lord, what has happened to him? Last summer, Kelechi Iheanacho ended up at Leicester City for £20 million, and fantasy football experts everywhere shoved him into their team. We were stupid to do so. At Man City, the 21-year-old managed 21 goals and limited appearances. At Leicester, he's looked out of his depth, still has not scored in the league, and can't make it past Shinji Okazaki in the pecking order. Something tells me Man City won't be needing that buyback clause. Liverpool, Fernando Torres. Only one winner here. In July 2007, Liverpool smashed their transfer record for Atletico Madrid hotshot and European wonderkid Fernando Torres. The 20 million 23-year-old had captained his hometown club as a teenager and had been continually linked with a move to Manchester United. So when Liverpool signed him, seeing the big bag of pace and haircuts that was Djibril Cissé pass him on the way out, they were overjoyed. Man City, Robinho. Manchester City signing Robinho probably seemed about as far-fetched back in 2008 as it would right about now. To be fair, I think there's only one football team Robinho will be playing for the next 9 years, and I'm not sure how good their showers are. Back in 2008, Man City went from a continued future of Darius Vassell's and Sunji Highs to something else entirely. Purchased by Sheikh Mansour on deadline day, and deciding there was enough time in the day to cram in a blockbuster signing, hijacking Chelsea's move for Robinho in a £32 million deal. Man City fans were delirious to sign the Real Madrid and Brazil's superstar, but poor old Robinho probably didn't even know where he was going. Just sign the contract, Robbie, you're going to be a very rich man. Somebody hide Benjani until he signs the damn thing. Man United, Paul Pogba. There have been quite a lot of signings which have excited the hardcore community of Man United fans and slightly raised the pulse of the ones with their faces stuffed to prawn sandwiches. We'll go with Paul Pogba though. Can a transfer really be more over the top than this one? Completing his world record £89 million return to Old Trafford, a club who were in the Europa League, let's not forget. The media nearly wet themselves with excitement before going on to pull apart his performances over the next 18 months of course. Newcastle, Alan Shearer. Who else was it going to be? The whole All of Newcastle seemed to be out in force to welcome home their local hero back in 1996 when he signed for Blackburn Rovers for a club record £15 million. 20 years later, and Watford are spending more than that on centre forwards, and not even good ones. A close second on the list would be Michael Owen, who was also paraded to a throb of frenzied Geordies. But while Shearer went on to get a statue built of him, Owen's legacy was left in the treatment room, leaving the club on a free transfer, with the club looking forward to trips to Scunthorpe and Blackpool. Southampton, Victor Wanyama. Southampton fans could be forgiven for hating the transfer window and wanting to file a restraining order against a certain bunch from Merseyside, but despite nearly all their best players, except Stephen Davis — why does nobody want Stephen Davis — walking out on them, they had some joy when they poached Victor Wanyama from Celtic in July 2013 for £12.5 million. Linked with a host of top clubs and having shone in the Champions League, he was some signing, until, you know, he walked out on them like everybody else. Southampton fans must have some serious abandonment issues. Stoke City, Xherdan Shaqiri. Don't let the fact that he looks like someone who guzzles protein shakes in his sleep fool you. Xherdan Shaqiri is one of the most skillful footballers in the Premier League. He has a World Cup hat-trick on his CV, once turned down Liverpool and spent time at Bayern Munich and Inter Milan. So how the hell did he end up at Stoke? Swansea, Renato Sanchez. Oh, Renato. I don't know what's happened to Renato Sanchez, but since he's moved to Swansea, he stopped playing like one of Europe's brightest young talents, and more like someone who's just swallowed a whole carton of horse tranquilizers. You might not believe it, considering he struggles to pick out a pass these days, but he's on loan from Bayern Munich, was heavily courted by Manchester United, is a Golden Boy winner, and lifted Euro 2016 18 months ago. But yet, he's been outshunned by Leon Britain. Tottenham, Edgar Davids. Signing former AC Milan, Juventus, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Champions League winner Edgar Davids for Tottenham to play alongside Andy Reid and Lee Young-pyo, come on now. The man who probably hates being dragged to 3D movies had a successful time in North London after arriving on a free transfer, even though he did try to punch in Robbie Keane's head during training. I can only imagine it was because he took the absolute piss out of his glasses. Watford, Will Hughes. Alright, forgive me Watford fans, but to my knowledge you have not made too many signings that would get a supporter off their seat. And don't you dare mention Andre Gray. Forking out £18 million for a man who seems allergic to goals is the opposite of exciting. We'll go for Will Hughes, a man who was tipped with a move from Derby County to Manchester United in 2016. Instead, he ended up the Hornets for £8 million. West Brom, Romelu Lukaku. Yeah, Big Rom makes the list again. I mean, who did you expect to see here? Peter Odemwingie? Fair enough, Lukaku didn't have a huge reputation in 2012. 10 goalless appearances for Chelsea, but at the end of the day, he was a highly rated goal-scoring prospect at Anderlecht. What could possibly go wrong? West Ham, Carlos Tevez. This one was just bizarre. Carlos Tevez has had the strangest career, from becoming the most hated man in Manchester and not giving two hoots, to becoming the richest player in the world and barely having to lift a finger in the process. But arguably his strangest move was when he decided to become the teammate of Nigel Quashie and Paul Konchesky right after shining for Argentina at the World Cup. Bizarre, but hey, I'm sure West Ham fans were delighted. You know, until Adam Pardew left him on the bench for 3 months in favour of Bobby Zamora. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.